Aiden woke up to the same sound he had grown used to over the past week, the faint scrape of paper sliding under his door. He rubbed his eyes and blinked against the pale orange light that filtered through the tiny window of his quarters on Titan Colony. The moon's surface glowed faintly beyond the reinforced glass, and the colony buildings reflected the cold, distant sun like tiny golden beacons. He sighed and bent to pick up the envelope. The handwriting was delicate, almost feminine, curling neatly across the page. Aiden always smiled at the first letter he saw each morning, as if it were a small gift left just for him. He hesitated before opening it, letting the anticipation build like the hum of the colony's oxygen recyclers in the background. Inside, there was a short note written in the same careful script. "I noticed the way you adjust the pressure in the hydroponics bay. You are careful, more careful than most. I like that." Aiden's lips twitched into a grin. Whoever it was, they were watching him. That thought alone made the ordinary morning feel extraordinary. Aiden had been on Titan Colony for almost a year, working as a junior engineer. The colony was not large, only a few hundred people, but it was alive with activity. Machines hummed constantly, systems needed constant monitoring, and human mistakes could be fatal. It was exhausting work, and most of the engineers he worked with were focused on survival, not mystery letters slipped under doors in the dead of night. Yet for some reason, these letters gave him a spark of energy, a moment of wonder in the monotony of life on a frozen moon. The notes had started subtly, almost shyly. At first, there had been simple observations about minor things. "Your boots leave the cleanest prints near the oxygen filters," or "I saw you recalibrate the solar panels," very precise. Each note contained small details that no one else seemed to notice, but as the days passed, the letters grew bolder, almost playful. "Do you ever notice the way the colony hums at night?" one letter read. "It sounds lonely sometimes, but I like to listen." He began leaving small responses, not under his door, but in places he thought the writer might notice. A wrench carefully placed beside the hydroponics bay, a small paper flower he had folded, a sketch of the colony's solar array with tiny notes. Despite all this, he did not know who was leaving the letters. He had asked around, of course, trying to appear casual. "Has anyone else been getting these letters?" he asked one morning in the cafeteria, glancing around the room. His colleagues shook their heads. "Don't be silly, Aiden," one of the senior engineers said. "There's no one sneaking around at night, probably just the wind or a system glitch." But Aiden knew better. No system glitch could write in such neat, careful handwriting or notice the small, human details that filled the letters. He tried to think logically. Who could it be? Perhaps one of the scientists who worked late, sneaking around to leave a little fun note. But the style of the letters did not match anyone he had seen in the colony. They were delicate, thoughtful, almost poetic. Aiden had spent hours examining the handwriting, comparing it to notes in the lab, to official memos, to the scribbles in the engineering logbooks. Nothing matched. Sometimes, when he was alone in the corridors late at night, he imagined catching the writer. He would hide behind a bulkhead or in the shadows near the hydroponics bay, waiting. But no matter how long he stayed, no one appeared. Yet every morning, a new letter waited. It was frustrating, thrilling, and entirely mysterious. One night, after a long shift repairing a faulty oxygen valve, Aiden returned to his quarters to find a letter with something unusual. It was not just a note this time, but a tiny sketch. The drawing showed his workstation in detail, including tools and cables he had just adjusted. The precision was astonishing. Whoever had drawn it had been there recently, had watched him carefully, and yet had left no trace. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the sketch. The artist, or writer, was brilliant. Perhaps someone of importance, someone trained to observe and analyze with great care. His thoughts wandered to the news that had spread throughout the colony recently. The planetary government was sending a representative to inspect Titan Colony. A young princess, shy and reserved, was supposed to arrive in secret to observe the daily workings of human life on a frontier world. Aiden dismissed the thought at first. Surely it could not be her. She would be heavily guarded, and these letters were personal, small, intimate. A princess would not have the time or the reason to leave letters under a junior engineer's door. Yet the idea lingered. What if it were true? What if the shy princess had a curiosity about ordinary human life and had come secretly to observe it herself? The thought made him laugh softly. It seemed like something out of an old storybook, not real life. But every detail in the letters suggested intelligence, precision, and a quiet observation of human behavior, all traits he associated with the rumors he had heard about the princess. Days passed, and the letters continued. Aiden became more attentive to small changes in the colony, wondering if the writer was watching. He noticed the faint hum of a machine that had been repaired overnight, the way the lights flickered slightly as if someone had adjusted them, and the soft sound of footsteps that vanished whenever he turned to look. Each observation made the letters feel more alive, as if the writer were a hidden presence just beyond his perception. The letters began to include subtle hints of affection. "You work too hard," one read. "Do not forget to rest. The colony will not fall apart if you sleep." Another described how he arranged tools in the workshop, how he smiled at minor successes, how he carefully avoided unnecessary risk when repairing systems. These were not notes of mere observation, they were notes of care. Aiden felt a warmth in his chest. It was a strange feeling to be known in such detail by someone he had never met. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day, Aiden sat at his workstation staring at the latest letter. The handwriting seemed smaller, more delicate than ever, and the words carried a softness that made him pause. "I hope you notice me soon," it said. He held the paper close and felt a sudden nervous excitement. Who could it be? What did they want from him? Why were they so careful, so shy, and yet so daring in their attention? Unable to contain his curiosity, he decided to take action. He set up small cameras near his quarters, though he had to be careful not to violate colony regulations. He left little markers in the corridors, small footprints made from powder, and checked the air ducts for signs of movement. Every precaution was methodical, like an experiment. Yet when he checked the footage the next morning, there was nothing unusual. No one had passed by, no shadows moved where they shouldn't have. Still, the letters arrived, perfectly placed under his door. Aiden realized he was being observed by someone extraordinary. Not just clever, but patient, careful, and meticulous. Whoever it was had the intelligence to solve small problems, to navigate the colony unnoticed, and to communicate in a way that intrigued him. He began leaving tiny messages in response, knowing that someone would read them. A small note tucked inside a maintenance manual, a piece of paper folded into the shape of a star, a tiny sketch of the oxygen control panel, all gestures intended to reach the hidden writer. The mystery began to take over his thoughts. He imagined the person walking silently through the colony at night, carrying letters in one hand, observing, listening. He imagined their face, their voice, their laughter. The letters were no longer just notes. They were a bridge between him and someone who might understand him in ways no one else could. One night, as he returned from repairing a broken power conduit in the northern wing, he found the latest letter placed with extra care. It was tucked beside a small potted plant in the hydroponics bay, and it included a tiny sketch of him fixing the conduit. He studied the sketch closely. The details were perfect, the angle of his hands, the curve of his back, even the expression on his face. He realized the writer had been there, had watched him closely, and yet had left no trace. It was almost impossible to believe. And yet he believed it. There was a subtle power in being observed so carefully, in being understood without words. He began to wonder if the shy princess rumors were true, if someone of high rank had chosen to experience life on the colony secretly. The thought was exciting and terrifying at the same time. He had always admired stories of human courage and ingenuity, but now it felt personal. The colony hummed around him as he sat with the letter in his hands, the orange light of Titan filtering through the windows. He knew he was part of something unusual, something extraordinary. Someone had reached out to him through these letters, someone hidden and shy, yet incredibly brave in their own way. Aiden smiled, feeling a mix of curiosity and hope. Whoever it was, he wanted to meet them. He wanted to know the mind behind the letters, the person who had chosen to connect with him in this strange, quiet way. And he had a feeling that when he finally did, everything about life on Titan Colony would change, not just for him, but for everyone who believed in human ingenuity, courage, and connection. He placed the letter carefully on his desk, next to the tiny paper star he had left for the writer the night before. Tomorrow, he thought, he would leave another message, a small step closer to the truth. And as he drifted to sleep, he imagined the unseen observer somewhere in the corridors, perhaps smiling as they watched him. And he realized that the colony, cold and distant though it was, had become a place of wonder. For the first time in a long while, Aiden felt truly alive. The morning sun of Titan Colony was pale and distant, filtering through the orange-hued sky with a weak glow. Aiden rubbed his eyes and glanced at the small pile of letters on his desk. Each one had been carefully placed, never a smudge or wrinkle. They were almost like little treasures. He picked up the latest note, feeling the delicate texture of the paper under his fingers. The message was short this time. "The oxygen recyclers need attention tonight. I watched a fluctuation. It will be dangerous if ignored." His heart quickened as he realized that the writer had not only been observing him, but was also helping him without being seen. By mid-afternoon, the colony announced a routine system check. Aiden volunteered for the night shift, claiming he needed experience. The other engineers glanced at him with mild curiosity, not knowing about the letters. As darkness fell over the domed settlement, Aiden walked through the corridors, tools clanking softly in his bag. The hydroponics bay glowed with artificial light, and the hum of machinery filled the air. He approached the oxygen recyclers and noticed something strange. One of the pipes had a faint discoloration that he had missed before. His instincts told him to investigate. Aiden carefully opened a panel, revealing a loose connection that could have caused a catastrophic leak if it had failed. His fingers worked quickly, tightening the fittings and checking the sensors. He realized then that the letter had saved him from a serious accident. Someone had been watching, guiding him with careful instructions. After securing the system, he leaned against the wall, catching his breath. "Who are you?" he whispered under his breath, though he knew there would be no answer. The letters were the only connection he had, yet they felt personal, almost alive. He imagined the writer moving silently through the colony unseen, observing every detail. Whoever it was, they understood him and the colony better than most engineers. The next day, Aiden could not focus. Every small noise made him pause, every shadow seemed to hide a secret observer. He reviewed his letters, looking for hidden clues, anything that could reveal the writer's identity. One note caught his attention. "I know the way you think, even when you try to hide it. Be careful with your curiosity. Some secrets are dangerous." The handwriting was delicate, almost hesitant, yet filled with meaning. Aiden wondered if the writer feared discovery as much as they desired contact. He walked through the colony, observing his coworkers. No one seemed suspicious. The guards patrolling the perimeter were professional, alert, and completely unaware of the mystery in their midst. Scientists were busy with their experiments, their minds elsewhere. Only Aiden seemed aware that someone was quietly moving among them, watching and helping in secret. In the cafeteria, he overheard rumors about the royal visitor. The planetary government had sent a young princess to observe the colony's progress. She was said to be shy and reclusive, interested in learning about the life of ordinary humans on the frontier worlds. Aiden chuckled softly. Could the princess really be the one leaving these letters? It seemed impossible. She would be heavily guarded and likely focused on official inspections, not secret observations of a junior engineer. Yet every detail in the letters suggested intelligence, careful observation, and curiosity, traits that matched the stories he had heard. He decided to test a theory. Over the next few days, he left small, deliberate signals. He adjusted his workspace in ways that were noticeable to an observer. He left tools in unusual arrangements and small sketches of the colony's systems near the vents. Each day, a new letter responded to his signals, acknowledging the changes and adding subtle hints. The writer was clever, noticing everything. The letters were no longer just notes. They were a dialogue, a secret conversation unfolding silently in the corridors of the colony. Aiden began to understand the writer's personality. They were shy, cautious, and extraordinarily intelligent. Each note was careful, polite, almost hesitant. Yet there was also playfulness, a quiet humor that showed in small comments about his habits or mistakes. "You left your coffee mug on the edge of the table. One day, gravity will betray you," one letter read. Aiden laughed aloud. The writer had an eye for detail and a gentle way of teasing without causing offense. The colony itself was a place of constant activity, a fragile human outpost in a harsh alien environment. Machines whirred, airlocks hissed, and life support systems monitored every breath. Engineers worked tirelessly to maintain balance between technology and survival. Aiden felt proud of the human ingenuity that had made life possible on Titan. Yet the letters added something more. They reminded him that humanity was not just about survival. It was about connection, understanding, and curiosity. That night, as he walked back from the oxygen control room, Aiden noticed something odd. A small piece of paper had been left near a maintenance hatch, folded neatly into a triangle. It was not a letter, but a diagram, showing a section of the colony he rarely visited. The sketch indicated a small maintenance corridor where minor leaks often occurred. He realized the writer had been guiding him subtly, preparing him for potential problems. The attention to detail was remarkable. Whoever it was, they understood not only the colony's systems, but also human behavior, how he thought, how he reacted, what he overlooked. Aiden could not sleep that night. He imagined the writer moving silently through the colony, observing, learning, and leaving notes. He wondered about their life, their reasons for secrecy, and their thoughts about the colony. The idea of the shy princess returned to his mind. Could she have come here not as an observer in a formal role, but as a student of human life, curious about how ordinary people lived and worked? The thought was thrilling. Over the next few days, the letters became more detailed. They began to include instructions for minor repairs, advice on improving efficiency, and even comments about his interactions with colleagues. You explain your ideas clearly, but sometimes you rush. Patience will serve you better in the long run, one note read. Aiden followed the advice, noticing subtle improvements in his work. The letters were becoming a silent mentor, guiding him toward mastery without ever revealing the writer. The colony faced a sudden challenge when a minor solar storm disrupted communications with Earth. Engineers scrambled to stabilize systems, reroute power, and maintain life support. Aiden worked tirelessly alongside his colleagues, but the letters continued to arrive, providing hints that helped him navigate the chaos. One note warned of a pressure imbalance in the water recycling system, allowing him to prevent a potential failure. Another offered guidance on rerouting energy to maintain critical systems. The writer's knowledge was uncanny. Aiden began to respect the writer not only for their intelligence but also for their courage. Leaving letters in secret, observing without being seen, and guiding him through danger required bravery. He felt a growing admiration, mixed with curiosity, and a sense of connection that was stronger than any friendship he had known in the colony. Whoever the writer was, they were extraordinary. Late one night, Aiden sat at his desk, reviewing every letter he had received. He noticed patterns, small clues hidden in the handwriting, phrasing, and sketches. The writer was methodical, careful, yet deeply human in their observations. He realized they were not just helping him, they were reaching out, trying to communicate, trying to connect. The thought filled him with warmth and excitement. As he leaned back, he realized something important. The letters were a bridge. They connected him to someone outside his immediate world, someone who shared his curiosity, his attention to detail, and his respect for human ingenuity. The writer was not just an observer, they were a companion in spirit, someone who understood the challenges and wonders of life on Titan. Aiden made a decision. He would try to meet the writer to uncover the person behind the letters, but he had to be careful. The writer was shy, cautious, and possibly in a position where discovery could be dangerous. He could not rush, could not force the meeting. Instead, he would continue the dialogue through subtle signs, small messages, and careful observation. He would show himself worthy of trust. The next morning, Aiden left a small folded note near the ventilation shaft, a location he had not seen used before. "I notice you. I appreciate your guidance. I hope one day we can meet safely," he wrote. It was not bold, but it was honest. It was a promise and an invitation. That evening, as he returned from his shift, he found a new letter carefully placed in a corner of his workspace. The handwriting was the same, delicate and precise, but the tone had changed slightly. "I have noticed your efforts. Patience and caution suit you well. We will meet when the time is right." Aiden's heart raced. The writer had responded. They had acknowledged his invitation without fear or anger and had promised a future encounter. Aiden smiled, feeling a surge of hope and excitement. He realized that life on Titan Colony was no longer just about survival, machines, and routines. It was about curiosity, connection, and the extraordinary courage of humans who dared to reach out in secret, to observe, to guide, and to connect. As he prepared for bed, he looked out at the pale orange sky, imagining the hidden presence moving silently through the corridors, watching, learning, and caring. Whoever they were, they had changed his life. They had turned the cold, distant colony into a place of wonder, mystery, and possibility. Aiden knew that the story was just beginning. Tomorrow, he would leave another small sign, another piece of the puzzle. And he would wait with patience for the moment when the shy observer, the secret writer, would finally reveal themselves. The letters had opened a door to something extraordinary, and Aiden was ready to step through when the time came. Aiden woke to another pale orange sunrise over Titan. The sky was a quiet blend of ice and dust, and the domed colony shimmered like a jewel against the harsh landscape. He rubbed his eyes and reached for the latest letter, carefully stacked among the others on his desk. This one was slightly heavier than usual, almost as if someone had pressed a small object inside to mark it. He unfolded the paper with curiosity. "I saw your calculations in the energy matrix yesterday. You were precise, but you missed a small inefficiency. I hope you don't mind a suggestion." Beneath the words was a diagram showing a new way to route power that could improve efficiency across several systems. Aiden stared at it in astonishment. Whoever wrote these letters did not just observe. They understood the colony's systems deeply, often better than the engineers themselves. He checked the energy matrix against the diagram. Every detail matched. Following the instructions carefully, he rerouted the power. Sensors indicated the systems stabilized faster than usual. His heart raced. The writer had guided him again, unseen from the shadows. It was thrilling, almost unnerving, to think someone could manipulate such critical systems without leaving a trace. Aiden left the bay to walk through the colony. The corridors were quiet now, the usual hum of machinery the only sound, yet he felt the presence of the unseen observer everywhere. He imagined them moving through vents, shifting tools, or watching silently from a darkened corner. Whoever it was, they had courage as well as intelligence. To act in secret, to guide without being seen, required a special kind of bravery. He passed the cafeteria and saw a few colleagues chatting over coffee. None of them noticed anything unusual, but he caught glimpses of small details they overlooked. A misaligned panel, a loose bolt, a minor fluctuation in pressure. He realized that the writer saw these things and cared about them. They were not leaving letters at random. Every note, every diagram, every suggestion showed careful observation and attention to detail. Aiden decided to investigate further. Over the next few days, he deliberately left subtle markers in the areas he worked in. A slightly adjusted valve, a small pencil mark near a junction, a folded note tucked under a tool. Each morning, the response was precise, acknowledging the change and offering new insight. The writer was engaged in a silent dialogue with him, testing his attention, challenging his skill, and teaching him new ways to improve the colony. He began to notice something else. The handwriting had small, subtle changes. The curves of letters shifted slightly, the pressure of the pen varied. He could not explain it, but it felt almost like mood or emotion carried through the strokes. The writer was human in ways that machines could not mimic. They had care, humor, and patience. Aiden felt a strange mix of admiration and curiosity, a desire to understand who this person was and why they were so careful, so hidden. The colony faced a minor emergency that tested Aiden's new skills. A leak developed in one of the hydroponics water loops, threatening the delicate balance of plant growth. He rushed to assess the problem, guided by instinct and the notes he had received over the past week. Just as he began to isolate the leak, a small folded sketch appeared near the pipes, almost as if dropped from nowhere. It showed the exact location of a valve he had not noticed and suggested a safe way to reroute the flow. Aiden followed the instructions carefully, stabilizing the system. He realized that the writer had saved him from a serious setback, perhaps even prevented long-term damage to the colony's food supply. That night, he could not sleep. He walked the corridors, careful not to disturb anyone, checking for signs of the writer. Footprints were minimal, shadows seemed ordinary, yet he felt a constant presence. He imagined the writer observing him, seeing how he moved, how he worked, even how he reacted to challenges. It was both thrilling and slightly unsettling. To be known so completely, yet to know nothing about the observer, created a strange tension. Aiden decided to follow a more deliberate plan. He set up small, subtle traps to catch the writer in action, markers that would reveal movement, sensors that could record footprints without alerting the colony's systems. He wanted to know the truth, to see who had been guiding him so carefully. Yet even with all precautions, no one appeared. Every morning, a new letter awaited him, responding to his efforts with calm, precise instructions. Whoever it was, they were clever, careful, and extraordinarily skilled. Rumors about the royal visitor grew louder in the colony. Engineers and scientists whispered about the young princess, shy and intelligent, who had been sent to observe the colony in secret. Aiden tried to dismiss the thought, yet it lingered. Every detail in the letters, the intelligence, the careful observation, the subtle sense of humor, reminded him of the descriptions he had heard. Could it really be her? It seemed impossible, yet the possibility sent a thrill through him. He began to notice small signs in the letters that hinted at someone of higher rank or unique training. One letter mentioned security routines and timing, the way guards shifted, and how the cameras rotated. Another noted subtle hierarchy in the lab teams, observing how authority influenced behavior. These were details that an ordinary engineer or scientist might miss, but someone trained to observe carefully would notice. Aiden's mind raced with the thought. The shy princess, learning about human life in secret, leaving letters for him, the idea was incredible. The colony faced another challenge when a sudden technical malfunction affected the environmental controls in the sleeping quarters. Temperatures dropped and humidity fluctuated, threatening comfort and equipment. Aiden rushed to fix the problem, guided by instinct and his growing knowledge. Then, almost as if in response, a new letter appeared. It contained instructions for stabilizing the system, precise and accurate. He followed them, and within minutes the conditions returned to normal. Whoever the writer was, they had a deep understanding of the colony's systems and a remarkable ability to anticipate problems before they occurred. Aiden began to feel a sense of partnership forming, even without knowing the writer's identity. They were teaching him, guiding him, challenging him, and he was learning, improving, and growing stronger because of it. He realized that humanity's strength was not just in survival, but in connection, in sharing knowledge, in working together, even across distance and secrecy. He started leaving more deliberate messages. Simple notes tucked into maintenance panels, small sketches with questions, subtle hints about minor adjustments he had made. Each morning, the responses were precise, acknowledging his efforts and offering guidance. The letters became a conversation, a silent mentorship, a hidden collaboration that stretched across the colony. One evening, while inspecting the hydroponics bay, Aiden noticed a faint pattern of light on the floor, shadows from the external colony, lights through a vent. He paused, listening. The usual hum of machinery filled the air, yet he felt certain someone was moving just beyond his sight. He imagined the writer, small and careful, moving silently, leaving guidance and observing without detection. The thought made his heart beat faster. He returned to his quarters and carefully examined the latest letter. "You have improved since our last discussion," it read. "I can see your confidence growing. Be ready. Challenges are coming." Beneath the words was a small, delicate sketch of a corridor junction, showing subtle changes he could make to improve safety and efficiency. Aiden realized the writer was preparing him, not just teaching, but strengthening him for something ahead. Over the next days, Aiden focused on his work with renewed energy. He repaired faulty circuits, recalibrated sensors, and adjusted environmental controls with care and precision. Each time he did, he found a letter acknowledging his effort, offering subtle corrections or suggestions. He began to see the writer not as a mystery but as a partner, someone who believed in him and wanted to see him succeed. The thought of the shy princess returned. Could it really be her? Aiden considered the possibility more seriously than ever. The careful observation, the intelligence, the subtle understanding of human behavior, even the courage required to move unseen through the colony. These were qualities that matched the rumors he had heard. He imagined her, small and quiet, moving through the halls, hiding behind panels, slipping letters under doors. The image was extraordinary. Then came the most daring letter yet. It was left in the workshop, tucked under a wrench, folded neatly into a small rectangle. "I have watched your courage and skill. I would like to meet when the time is right." Patience will serve us both, Aiden's breath caught. The writer was inviting him to meet them. Someone he had never seen, someone who had guided him through danger and taught him with care, now trusted him enough to suggest a meeting. He held the letter carefully, realizing the weight of the moment. He had been drawn into a silent partnership, a secret mentorship, a connection that transcended ordinary life on Titan Colony. The writer was extraordinary, human in ways that inspired awe, and he was learning from them, growing stronger, more capable, more confident. Aiden smiled, feeling a rush of excitement and anticipation. He realized that the story was no longer just about letters or mystery. It was about courage, ingenuity, trust, and human connection. The colony was a place of survival, yes, but it was also a place where curiosity and intelligence could create extraordinary bonds. As he placed the letter on his desk, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. The letters were a bridge to something greater, a path to understanding and perhaps to meeting someone who would change his life. He did not know when or how, but he was ready. And somewhere in the quiet corridors of Titan Colony, the shy observer moved silently, watching, guiding, and waiting, unaware that the seeds of connection had already taken root in Aiden's heart. The air in Titan Colony was still and quiet, with the faint hum of machines filling the corridors. Aiden moved carefully, his boots clicking softly against the metal floor. Tonight was different. The letters had grown more daring, more personal, hinting at a meeting. He could feel it in his chest, a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Whoever had been guiding him, observing him, and teaching him in secret was now ready to reveal themselves. He left a note tucked into the maintenance hatch near the oxygen recyclers, a simple invitation. I am ready when you are. I will meet you carefully in the place you choose. Do not fear. He folded it precisely, placing it so it could be found easily but without drawing attention. Then he retreated to his quarters, heart pounding, imagination running wild. He wondered who it could be, imagining the shy observer, small and careful, with intelligence and courage beyond what he had expected. Could it really be the princess? The idea seemed impossible, yet every detail of the letters matched the stories he had heard. The night deepened. Outside the domes, Titan's icy landscape stretched endlessly, bathed in the weak glow of the distant sun. Inside the colony, shadows shifted as Aiden moved to the location he had chosen for the meeting. A quiet, unfrequented maintenance corridor connected two wings of the colony, a place where no one usually passed at night. It was dimly lit, safe, yet isolated enough for privacy. He waited, listening to every faint sound, every hum, every vibration. Minutes passed, then an almost imperceptible shift in the air caught his attention. A figure appeared from the shadows. Aiden froze, his heart leaping. The person was small, careful in every step, their movements precise and cautious. And yet there was a presence, a quiet confidence that drew him in immediately. She stepped forward slowly, holding nothing, revealing herself in the pale light. It was the shy princess. Her eyes were wide, curious, and slightly nervous, yet intelligent and observant. She wore simple clothing, practical for moving through the colony, nothing like the ceremonial robes he had imagined from stories. Aiden felt a mixture of awe and relief. She was real, human, extraordinary, and she had chosen to connect with him in this strange, secret way. I hope I'm not too late, she said softly, her voice almost a whisper, careful and gentle. I've been watching. I didn't want anyone to know, but I wanted to understand. I wanted to see your life here, your work, the choices you make. Her eyes flicked nervously around the corridor, and then she met his gaze. I never expected to leave letters, but it seemed the safest way to speak. I thought it might be a colleague, a scientist, maybe even someone from the maintenance crew. But you've been guiding me all this time. His voice trembled slightly with excitement. She nodded. I wanted to understand the colony, humanity here, without the distractions of ceremony, guards, or official duties. I wanted to see courage, skill, and ingenuity, not from reports, but from real people. She paused, biting her lip. And I wanted to understand you. You handle challenges calmly, carefully. You notice details others overlook. You're clever, patient, and human in a way I wanted to learn from. I never imagined it would be someone like you. I never imagined anyone would care enough to guide me secretly like this. I feel honored. His words were sincere, his voice steady now. I've learned so much from your notes. They've changed how I work, how I think. You've taught me more than anyone else here. I hoped you would understand. I wanted to help without interfering, to give advice without pressure. It was difficult to stay hidden, but necessary. Her eyes softened. I didn't know if you would ever notice me. I want to learn more from you, and I want to know you if you allow it. The words felt natural, a bridge forming between them after weeks of silent communication. For a moment they stood in silence, the colony around them quiet except for the low hum of machines. Then slowly she stepped closer. I trust you, she said softly. But the colony, the people here must be ready for what's coming. There is a problem we cannot ignore. Something I saw in my research before coming here, a signal, a message from outside Saturn's orbit. Something alien. Humanity had always wondered about intelligent life elsewhere, about contact, about danger. To hear that the princess had observed something beyond the colony, something potentially threatening, sent a thrill through him. She nodded, her eyes serious. Yes, I cannot say much here, but it was unusual. The pattern, the timing, it suggested intelligence, and perhaps intent. We must prepare. She paused, her voice softening. But first I needed to meet you. You have skills, insight, and courage that I have not seen elsewhere. I believe you can help me help the colony if we work together. Whatever you need, we can handle it together. He realized that the shy princess was not fragile or distant. She was brave, clever, and determined. She had come to Titan to understand humanity and had chosen him as a partner in this endeavor. They spent hours discussing the colony, reviewing systems, and planning small improvements. She revealed more about her observations, about subtle inefficiencies in power, water, and oxygen systems that only someone attentive and knowledgeable could notice. Aiden shared his knowledge of machinery, troubleshooting, and engineering solutions. Together, They discovered new ways to stabilize the systems and improve efficiency. It was thrilling, collaborative, and deeply human. As the hours passed, Aiden realized something important. Humanity's strength was not just in machines or survival instincts. It was in curiosity, creativity, and courage. The princess, despite her title and upbringing, embodied these qualities. She had chosen to observe, to learn, to act discreetly, and now to trust him. Together, they were a force that could achieve remarkable things. Suddenly, the colony's alert system beeped softly. A minor fluctuation in the oxygen recycler indicated a potential problem. Aiden moved immediately, guided by instinct and recent experience. The princess followed, calmly observing, offering subtle advice through gestures and soft words. Together, they identified the issue, a pressure valve that had been weakened by recent maintenance. Aiden adjusted it carefully, stabilizing the system. They exchanged a glance, a mix of relief and excitement. The collaboration worked. She smiled, a small, shy curve of her lips. "You learn quickly. I see improvement already." Her words were gentle but filled with pride. "You are ready for greater challenges, I think." The colony are people. They need capable minds who can work together, calmly and intelligently. It was a turning point, not just for him, but for the colony. They spent the night walking the corridors, observing systems, discussing improvements, and planning for potential emergencies. Each step, each observation, each careful word built trust. The letters had been a bridge, but now they stood side by side, human ingenuity and courage united in purpose. By dawn, they returned to the central hub. The colony was still quiet, machines humming steadily, systems stabilized. Aiden and the princess exchanged a final glance before parting, both aware that this was only the beginning. The signal she had observed, the challenges that awaited, required preparation, intelligence, and courage, and together they would face it. As Aiden returned to his quarters, he carefully placed the letters in a stack, the smallest folded notes at the top. They were no longer mysterious messages from an unknown observer. They were reminders of trust, guidance, and connection. He felt gratitude, admiration, and determination all at once. Humanity's strength was not only in surviving alien worlds, but in understanding, learning, and collaborating with others, even in secrecy. Somewhere in the quiet corridors, the princess moved silently, preparing her own reports, analyzing the colony, planning next steps. She had revealed herself, but only partially. The mystery had not vanished entirely. There was still much to learn, much to discover, and many challenges ahead. Yet Aiden felt ready, stronger, and more capable than ever before. Together, they had taken the first step towards something greater. A partnership built on trust, curiosity, and human ingenuity had begun. And in the quiet hum of Titan colony, hope and courage shone brighter than any distant sun. The colony on Titan hummed with a tense energy as Aiden walked through the main hub. Systems were stable for now, but the message the princess had intercepted weeks earlier weighed heavily on his mind. An unusual signal from beyond Saturn's orbit had arrived, complex, deliberate, and clearly intelligent. No one knew if it was a warning, a test, or an invitation, but the colony's survival could depend on how humans responded. The princess stood by the central console, studying the signal patterns with careful precision. She had been preparing for this moment, observing the colony's capabilities and choosing her allies wisely. When she saw Aiden approach, she offered a small, determined smile. "We will need every mind in the colony," she said softly, but her voice carried authority. "And I want you at my side. Your experience and insight will be crucial." Yet he felt ready. He had learned from the letters, from the secret guidance, and from working alongside the princess herself. Human ingenuity, patience, and courage had brought them this far, and now it would be tested on a cosmic scale. The first step was understanding the signal. The colony's scientists and engineers worked tirelessly, analyzing the patterns, decoding frequencies, and mapping potential sources. The signal pulsed in regular intervals, with mathematical sequences embedded in the transmission. It was not a random disturbance in space. It was deliberate, intelligent, and highly advanced. Aiden joined the analysis team, guiding them through complex calculations, adjustments to the colony's communication arrays, and the alignment of satellites in orbit. The princess worked alongside him, her insight and careful observation complementing his practical experience. They discovered subtle anomalies in the signal, variations in amplitude, phase shifts, and embedded codes that hinted at a challenge rather than a threat. Hours turned into days. The colony operated in shifts, engineers and scientists working tirelessly while the population adapted to the increased tension. Machines hummed, lights flickered, and life support systems glowed like lifelines against the icy expanse outside. Aiden and the princess coordinated every effort, ensuring efficiency, accuracy, and safety. The letters that had begun as small, secret messages had led to this moment, teaching patience, observation, and the power of silent guidance. Finally, a breakthrough came. Aiden noticed a pattern in the phase shifts that no one else had detected, a repeating mathematical sequence that suggested the signal was a test of logic and creativity. He shared the discovery with the princess. "Look at this," he said, pointing to the sequence on the console. "It's a puzzle. Whoever sent this wants to see if humans can solve it. It's not hostile, not yet at least. But it's testing us. This is our chance to show them what we are capable of." He felt the weight of responsibility, but also the thrill of potential achievement. They coordinated the colony's response, assigning teams to different aspects of the signal. Engineers worked on communication arrays, scientists decoded mathematical patterns, and programmers designed algorithms to match the alien logic. Aiden and the princess guided the efforts, ensuring every human mind was used efficiently, every skill was applied strategically, and every decision was made with care. Days passed in intense focus. Sleep was limited, meals were hurried, and the colony worked as a single, unified organism. Yet morale remained high. Humans thrived under pressure, drawing strength from ingenuity, collaboration, and the quiet determination that had allowed them to survive in hostile environments for centuries. Aiden felt inspired by every colleague, every scientist, every engineer who gave their all. They were the embodiment of humanity's capacity to overcome adversity. Finally, the moment arrived. The final sequence of the signal demanded a creative solution, an elegant combination of logic, observation, and innovation. Aiden studied the pattern, recalling the lessons from the letters, the guidance from the princess, and his own experience on Titan. He suggested a method for responding that relied not just on machines or calculations, but on human intuition, flexibility, and reasoning. The princess watched as he implemented the solution, her trust in him complete. "Go ahead," she said softly. "We believe in human skill. You've learned well and you're ready for this." Lights blinked, machines hummed, and data streamed in rapid bursts. The pattern shifted, paused, and then resolved. The response was accepted. The signal stabilized, pulsating with a rhythm that suggested acknowledgement and satisfaction. Humanity had passed the test. Relief swept through the colony. Scientists cheered quietly, engineers clapped hands, and the princess allowed herself a small, genuine smile. She turned to Aiden. "You did it," she said softly. "We did it. Humanity has proven what we always knew. We are capable, clever, and resilient. We adapt, we solve, and we thrive." The letters had started as simple gestures, guiding him through ordinary tasks. Now they had led him to extraordinary achievement. The shy observer, the princess, had taught him lessons in patience, observation, and courage that had made this moment possible. Together, humans had faced an unknown intelligence and shown that they could think, create, and collaborate beyond expectation. The days that followed were filled with celebration, reflection, and planning. The signal from beyond Saturn continued to pulse occasionally, a reminder that intelligence existed elsewhere in the universe, but it was no longer a threat. The colony had responded with ingenuity, patience, and courage. Humans had proven themselves, not just through technology, but through skill, creativity, and connection. Aiden and the princess continued to work closely, refining systems, improving efficiency, and teaching others the lessons they had learned. The letters were no longer necessary. Communication was open, trust was established, and the partnership they had formed was stronger than ever. Humanity's ability to adapt, to solve problems, and to collaborate had been tested and had triumphed. One quiet evening, as the colony lights glowed softly against Titan's icy landscape, Aiden found a small, folded note placed on his desk. It was simple, delicate, and written in the same careful handwriting he had come to recognize. "Thank you for noticing me. Thank you for trusting me. Humanity is capable of extraordinary things when we work together." He smiled, realizing that the journey had not only been about survival or achievement, but about connection, understanding, and the human spirit. He looked out the window at the distant rings of Saturn, glowing softly in the fading light. The universe was vast, filled with mysteries, challenges, and unknown intelligence. Yet he felt confident. Humanity had proven itself once again. With courage, ingenuity, and collaboration, humans could face any test, overcome any obstacle, and thrive even in the most hostile environments. Aiden turned back to the console where the princess was reviewing the colony's systems. She looked up, catching his gaze, and nodded. No words were needed. They understood each other completely. Human minds, guided by intelligence, curiosity, and courage, could achieve the extraordinary. Together, they walked through the corridors, observing systems, checking machinery, and quietly teaching others. The colony hummed with life, resilience, and determination. Aiden felt a profound sense of belonging, purpose, and pride. He realized that the letters, the secret guidance, the shy observer, and the challenges they had faced were all part of a larger story, one of human ingenuity, courage, and the unbreakable spirit that made them capable of greatness. In the quiet of Titan Colony, under the pale orange light and distant stars, humanity had proven its worth. And in the presence of the shy princess, who had chosen to observe, guide, and trust, Aiden understood something extraordinary. Humans were not just survivors of harsh worlds. They were thinkers, creators, problem solvers, and explorers. They could face the unknown with courage, intelligence, and unity. The future was uncertain, filled with mysteries and challenges beyond imagination, but Aiden felt ready. The lessons of the letters, the partnership with the princess, and the triumph over the alien signal had shown him what humans could accomplish when they trusted in themselves and in each other. Humanity had faced the cosmos, and it had prevailed, not by force but by intelligence, observation, and collaboration. And as the distant signals pulsed in acknowledgement, Aiden knew that this was only the beginning. Humans would continue to explore, to adapt, to think, and to rise to every challenge the universe could send. Titan Colony was safe for now, but the lessons learned here would echo across worlds. Humanity, clever, resilient, and capable, had proven once again why it could thrive anywhere. Aiden placed the final letter carefully in a small box, a keepsake of the journey that had brought him to this moment. The shy princess stood beside him, her presence calm, confident, and inspiring. They had faced the unknown together, learned from each other, and shown that humanity's greatest strength lay in its minds, its courage, and its heart. And as the stars glimmered beyond Titan's domes, the colony thrived, a testament to human ingenuity, bravery, and connection. The letters had begun as a mystery, but they had become the foundation for a story of survival, intelligence, and hope. The shy princess, once hidden and quiet, had revealed the extraordinary power of trust, curiosity, and collaboration. And humanity, brilliant and unstoppable, had risen to meet the universe with courage and skill.